The galaxy changed forever. When humans stopped being kind, Alan Wright stood at the viewing window of the diplomatic vessel, watching the stars blur as they traveled through hyperspace. For 20 years, he had served as Earth's ambassador to the Galactic Council. 20 years of brokering peace, offering aid, and representing humanity's best qualities to the cosmos. "Ambassador, we're approaching the council station," said Olivia Gray, his assistant. Her voice was soft but carried the weariness they all felt. "The Zolarian representatives have requested a private meeting before the main session." Alan nodded without turning from the window. Of course they have. Humans had been part of the galactic community for just over a century. When they first ventured beyond their solar system, many alien species had expected them to be like other emerging civilizations, territorial, suspicious, aggressive. Instead, they found something unexpected, a species whose defining characteristic seemed to be kindness. Human medical teams rushed to disaster zones across the galaxy. Human engineers freely shared innovations that improved life on struggling worlds. Human diplomats mediated conflicts without seeking advantage. The older species, particularly the ancient Zolarian Empire and the telepathic Vesh Collective, welcomed this useful anomaly with open arms. "Do you ever wonder if we're too nice?" Olivia asked, standing beside him now. Alan smiled slightly. Every day since Proxima, 2 months ago, raiders had attacked the human mining colony on Proxima Centauri 4. 2,000 civilians killed, including Alan's wife Kate and their daughter Emma. The colony had been undefended. Human outposts rarely maintained military presence as a show of peaceful intentions. The ship docked smoothly at the massive council station. Alan straightened his simple blue uniform. No medals, no rank insignia, just the Earth emblem over his heart. Humans didn't believe in intimidating displays even in their clothing. 3 Zolarian officials waited in the reception area. Their scaled skin gleamed under the lights, and their ceremonial armor was polished to mirror brightness. High Commander Krexthor stepped forward, towering over the humans. "Ambassador Wright, we are pleased you could attend on such short notice." The Zolarian's voice rumbled from deep in his chest. "Please, join us in the private chamber." Alan and Olivia followed the aliens through the station's curved corridors. Other species moved aside as they passed, some with respectful nods, others with unreadable expressions. The private chamber was ornate, with a large table carved from rare wood. The Zolarians took one side, the humans the other. "I'll be direct, Ambassador," Krexthor began. "The Council has reviewed your petition regarding the Proxima Centauri incident. We've decided not to take action against the raiders at this time." Alan felt his face grow hot but kept his expression neutral. 2,000 civilians were murdered. We've provided evidence that the raiders came from Orlex territory. Under Council law, we must consider the broader implications, interrupted a female Zolarian. Orlex provides essential minerals to 17 systems. Any sanctions could destabilize trade networks. "And this outweighs justice for the dead?" Olivia asked quietly. The third Zolarian, older than the others, flicked his tail in dismissal. "Humans always speak of justice as if it were absolute. The galaxy runs on practicality, not ideals." Alan leaned forward. "Then at least allow us to establish defensive systems at our remaining colonies. The Council restrictions on human military development remain in place," Krexthor cut in firmly. "Your species joined this Council accepting those terms. Your dedication to peace is why you were welcomed. Armed colonies would send the wrong message." "The wrong message?" Alan repeated, struggling to maintain his diplomatic tone. "That we value the lives of our people?" The meeting continued for another hour, but the decision was final. No action against the raiders, no changes to defense restrictions. The humans were expected to accept their losses with the same gracious understanding they had always shown. As they prepared to leave, Krexthor placed a heavy hand on Alan's shoulder. "We appreciate humanity's role in our galactic family. Your people heal our sick, feed our hungry, and make peace where others would make war. It is your gift to us all." Alan looked up at the Zolarian's golden eyes. And what does the galaxy give us in return, Commander? Our guidance, of course. You are still young as a species. The commander's mouth stretched in what passed for a smile. This unfortunate incident at Proxima Centauri, consider it a learning experience about the realities of space. The humans were halfway to the door when Krexthor spoke again, his voice lower, thinking they couldn't hear. Their kindness is a weakness we have exploited well. Did they truly believe we valued it for its own sake? They are convenient tools, nothing more. Alan froze, then slowly turned. What did you say, Commander? The Zolarians exchanged glances. Krexthor straightened to his full height. You were not meant to hear that, Ambassador. But perhaps it's time for honesty between us. Your species has been useful precisely because of your willingness to sacrifice your own interests. Why would we change an arrangement that benefits the established powers? Olivia stepped forward. You've been using us all along. Using you? We've been guiding you, the female Zolarian corrected, directing your helpful nature where it best serves galactic stability, and restricting our development where it might challenge yours. Alan said, the pieces falling into place. The defense limitations, the technology sharing requirements, the carefully managed expansion permits. The older Zolarian shrugged massive shoulders. You agreed to all terms willingly. If your kindness made you blind to the implications, that is hardly our concern. For the first time in his diplomatic career, Alan felt something harden inside him. This meeting is over. We'll see you at the council session tomorrow. Back on their ship, Alan stood in his quarters, looking at a photo of his wife and daughter. Kate had been a botanist, developing crops that could grow on worlds with different soil chemistry. Emma had been just 12, already talking about becoming a doctor for alien species. Both killed because their colony had been left defenseless, deliberately kept that way by the very powers humans had trusted. A message chimed on his console. The council agenda for tomorrow. The Proxima Centauri incident was listed as Item 17, after discussions about trade tariffs and tourist visa regulations. Alan touched a control panel. Communications. Yes, Ambassador, came the response. Contact Earth Central. Priority. Channel to the President and the Joint Chiefs. Encryption level maximum. Sir, that protocol is only for, I know what it's for. Do it now. Within minutes, the President's face appeared on his screen. Alan, what's happened? Madam President, I need to speak with you and the Joint Chiefs immediately about the future of human policy in the galaxy. We've been deceived for a century. He repeated what he had learned, watching her expression change from shock to cold anger. What are you proposing, Ambassador? She asked finally. Alan looked once more at the photo of his family. A complete reassessment of our position. Effective immediately, I recommend we suspend all humanitarian missions, recall our diplomatic corps, and withdraw from non-essential council commitments. That would cause chaos across dozens of worlds that depend on us. Yes, Alan said quietly. It would. And then? And then we show the galaxy what humans are like when we stop being kind. When Alan Wright stepped into the council chamber the next day, the usual gentle diplomat was gone. In his place stood a man with cold eyes and a voice that silenced the massive hall with its first words. Humanity's era of unconditional kindness has ended, and the galaxy will never be the same. The galaxy changed forever. When humans stopped being kind, 6 months passed after Ambassador Wright's declaration to the Galactic Council. 6 months of silence that grew more unsettling with each passing day. Across the stars, alien civilizations began to notice the absence of human kindness they had taken for granted. On the edge of human space, Captain Frank Daniels stood on the observation deck of the orbital shipyard above Mars. Below him, construction drones swarmed around the massive frame of a vessel unlike any humans had built before. The ship had no medical bays for alien refugees, no diplomatic quarters, no humanitarian supply holds. Instead, it bristled with weapon mounts and armor plating still being fitted into place. She's beautiful, isn't she? Said a voice behind him. Frank turned to see Samantha Miller approach. Once she had been Earth's leading engineer in water purification systems, saving billions of alien lives on drought-stricken worlds. Now she oversaw the development of shield technology that could withstand the most powerful known weapons in the galaxy. "I never thought I'd see anything like this built by human hands," Frank replied. "We were always so careful to make our ships look harmless." Samantha's laugh was without humor. "Yes, harmless. Like the colony ship at Proxima Centauri." She gestured at the vessel below. "The Defiance will be ready for trials next month, the first of many." Frank had commanded the unarmed diplomatic vessel Olive Branch for 10 years. He had transported peace delegations, delivered medical supplies, and evacuated civilians from war zones. His ship had been respected throughout the galaxy because it posed no threat. Now, he would command humanity's first true warship. "Any word from the Council?" he asked. "They send messages daily, first demanding explanations, then offering concessions." Samantha scrolled through her datapad. "The President hasn't answered any of them." Across human space, a transformation was taking place. Factories that once produced relief supplies now manufactured components for defense systems. Scientists, who had shared medical breakthroughs freely, now worked behind closed doors. Ships that had carried human aid workers to far-flung planets returned empty, their crews reassigned. On the colony world of New Montana, Governor Joe Hudson addressed a crowd of farmers. For generations, they had grown crops specifically designed to feed struggling alien settlements on nearby worlds. "From this day forward," he announced, "not a single grain leaves human hands without fair payment. We will help our neighbors, but no longer at the expense of our own families." The few aliens still permitted in human territory sent worried reports back to their homeworlds. Something fundamental had changed. The humans were still polite, still professional, but the warmth was gone from their eyes. They spoke of contracts and terms where once they had offered gifts. They discussed boundaries where once they had welcomed all. In the research complex beneath Geneva, Dr. Linda Powell unlocked a vault that had existed since humanity's first contact with alien life. Inside were detailed files on the biology, physiology, and potential vulnerabilities of every known species. Information that had been gathered but never used. Until now. "We've known their weaknesses for decades," she told the team of scientists assembled before her. "We just chose never to use them." One of the younger scientists looked uncomfortable. "Are we planning to attack them?" "No," Linda replied firmly. "But we will never again be defenseless. If the Zolarians or anyone else mistake our new stance for weakness, they'll learn how much we truly know." At the Diplomatic Academy, the training of Earth's representatives underwent a complete revision. Students who had once been taught the art of compromise now studied the science of leverage. Classes on interspecies medicine were replaced with lessons on strategic resource management. "Your compassion is still valuable," the new dean told the students. "But it must be balanced with self-preservation. The galaxy has shown us what happens when kindness has no limits." In orbit around Jupiter, the Vesh diplomatic vessel waited for permission to approach Earth. The Vesh, with their powerful telepathic abilities, had long served the Council as negotiators and information gatherers. They had been allowed past the outer warning beacons as a test, both of their intentions and of humanity's new defenses. When the Vesh envoy attempted to scan the human outpost on Ganymede, as they had routinely done for decades, they encountered something new. Instead of the open, easily read minds of humans, they found trained mental barriers and psychic countermeasures that sent the telepathic probe recoiling in pain. The Vesh captain immediately sent a message to the Council. "They've been studying us all along. Even our mental patterns we never realized." 3 Zolarian warships crossed into the outer reaches of the Sol system, claiming to be on a routine patrol. The human response was immediate. A warning message, a countdown of 30 seconds, and then a demonstration of a new long-range weapon that disabled the Zolarian engines without destroying the ships. "You have 6 hours to restore your systems and leave human space," came the transmission from Earth Command. "After that, we will consider your presence an act of war." The Zolarians, unused to receiving ultimatums from humans, quickly retreated once their engines were functional again. In the council chambers, representatives from 20 major civilizations gathered for an emergency session. The sudden withdrawal of human support had created crises across the galaxy. Medical facilities staffed by human doctors stood empty. Agricultural colonies dependent on human farming techniques watched their crops fail. Engineering projects halted without human technical expertise. "We must address the human situation," said the Arborian delegate, whose tree-like form swayed with agitation. "3 of our mining colonies are facing complete collapse without their water filtration engineers. The humans have violated dozens of treaties," the Zolarian representative countered. "They agreed to share their technology and provide humanitarian services." The Vesh representative, still shaken from the encounter at Jupiter, raised a slender hand. "I suggest caution. Our intelligence indicates they have been preparing for this change in policy for far longer than we realized, perhaps even from their first contact with us." "Impossible," the Zolarian scoffed. "Humans have always been transparent. Their minds and intentions were open books." "Were they?" The Vesh's voice was quiet. "Or did they simply show us what we expected to see?" A year after humanity's withdrawal, a lone Zolarian battlecruiser crossed the boundary into human territory near the former colony at Proxima Centauri. Its mission was officially listed as reconnaissance, an assessment of whether humans had actually fortified the abandoned mining site, or if their tough talk was merely a bluff. The ship and its crew of 300 simply vanished. Search parties found nothing but debris scattered across a wide area of space. No distress call had been received. No warning issued. Just complete destruction delivered with clinical precision. The galaxy had dismissed Ambassador Wright's declaration as empty words from an emotional species. Now, in the silence that followed, the battlecruiser's destruction, that mistake became painfully clear. Humanity had not just stopped being kind. They had revealed what lay beneath the kindness, a species far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. The galaxy changed forever. When humans stopped being kind, the destruction of the Zolarian battlecruiser sent shockwaves through the Galactic Council. Emergency sessions were called, threats were made, military alerts were issued across a dozen star systems. Yet through it all, human space remained silent, their borders closed, their intentions unknown. Until exactly 1 month after the incident, a message arrived at the council station. "A human representative wishes to address the full council," announced the station's AI. "They request an immediate audience." Within hours, the grand chamber filled with delegates from every major species. Some came out of fear, others out of anger, all out of necessity. The human medical and technical support that had been taken for granted was now sorely missed across the galaxy. Planets that had never worried about human politics now faced food shortages, medical crises, and failing infrastructure. The chamber doors opened and a single human entered. Eric Jones had once been known throughout the galaxy as the head of Earth's largest humanitarian organization. He had personally led relief missions to 27 disaster zones on alien worlds. His kindness had been legendary. Now he walked, with measured steps, to the center of the chamber, his face showing none of the warmth that had once defined him. He wore the new standard human diplomatic uniform, gray and simple but with subtle design elements that mimicked military attire. "The Galactic Council recognizes the representative from Earth," said the Arborian chairperson, branches quivering slightly. "We are pleased that humans have chosen to rejoin galactic dialogue." Eric nodded once. "I bring a message and a demonstration." Without another word, he activated a small device. A holographic display appeared in the center of the chamber, showing footage of the Zolarian battlecruiser's final moments. The massive ship moved through space near Proxima Centauri. Then suddenly weapons fire erupted from what seemed to be empty space. The battlecruiser's shields failed instantly. Its engines died. A second series of precise strikes broke the vessel. Apart, the footage showed the attack had come from multiple stealth platforms, human technology that the Zolarians had passed without detecting. The entire engagement lasted less than 20 seconds. The council chamber erupted in shouts and accusations. Eric waited patiently for the chairperson to restore order. This was a demonstration, he stated calmly, once silence returned. We've established new boundaries. Cross them at your peril. A Zolarian representative rose to his full height, scales flaring with anger. This is an act of war. The council will not stand for unprovoked aggression. Unprovoked? Eric's voice remained level, but something cold flashed in his eyes. The ship entered territory we clearly marked as restricted. Territory where thousands of our people were massacred while the council did nothing. Your species has violated numerous treaties, called out a Vesh delegate. The development of these weapons systems, the withdrawal of essential services from dependent worlds, the refusal to share medical advances. These break agreements your leaders signed willingly. Eric smiled for the first time, but it didn't reach his eyes. Yes, just as you violated the spirit of those agreements by manipulating us. For generations, you mistook our kindness for weakness, our cooperation for submission. Consider what it means that a species you thought harmless could develop these capabilities right under your gaze. The Vesh delegate's face paled. The council will impose sanctions if humans continue this reckless path. We anticipated your reaction, Eric replied. He tapped his device again. The holographic display changed to show a montage of scenes from across the galaxy, all happening simultaneously. Human merchant ships lifting off from trading posts. Human medical staff evacuating facilities. Human agricultural advisors boarding transports. What is the meaning of this? Demanded the chairperson. As we speak, all remaining human personnel are departing from non-human worlds, Eric explained. All trade agreements are suspended. All technological support is withdrawn. All diplomatic relations beyond this chamber are severed. The impact was immediate. On Nexus 4, an Arborian mining colony dependent on human medical supplies watched helplessly as the last human doctors evacuated, taking their specialized equipment with them. On Kelvara, an aquatic species that relied on human-engineered water, filtration faced system failures, as maintenance crews departed without warning. The galaxy had never realized how deeply integrated humans had become in their infrastructure, healthcare, and food production. The sudden vacuum created immediate crises on dozens of worlds. You cannot do this, shouted the Zolarian representative. Billions will suffer. We know, Eric said quietly, just as our billions have suffered while providing unappreciated aid for generations. Just as thousands died at Proxima Centauri, while this council debated trade implications. He looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of each major species. Representative, you never valued our kindness. Perhaps you'll value our absence. The chairperson's branches drooped in alarm. What are your demands? We have none at this time, Eric replied. Humanity is reassessing its place in galactic affairs. When we decide how, or if, we wish to re-engage, you will be informed. As Eric turned to leave, an elderly Vesh stepped forward. Wait, please. There are children in our medical facilities who will die without human doctors. Whatever grievances exist between us, they are innocent. For a moment, something flickered across Eric's face, a shadow of the compassion that had once defined his species. Then it was gone. We will send information packets on how to maintain essential equipment and continue critical treatments, he said after a pause. Nothing more. When he left, the council chamber remained silent for several minutes. Finally, the Arborian chairperson spoke. I believe we have gravely misunderstood humans. On Earth, President Laura Chen sat in the Oval Office watching the council session that had just concluded. With her were the Joint Chiefs of Staff and Ambassador Wright, now serving as Secretary of Galactic Affairs. Did we go too far? She asked quietly. No, Alan Wright replied. We went exactly far enough. They need to understand that we are not their servants or their saviors. We are their equals, or perhaps more. General Maria Rivera, head of the newly formed Space Defense Force, nodded in agreement. For a century, they've benefited from our restraint, mistaking it for weakness. That illusion needed to be shattered. And the consequences. President Chen looked at the screen showing reports from across the galaxy. systems already facing crises without human support. The consequences are necessary, Alan said firmly. Let them experience life without human assistance. Let them feel what they've taken for granted. In the following days, distress calls poured in from across the galaxy. Medical emergencies, food shortages, technical failures, all sent to Earth with increasing desperation, all went unanswered. On the former human colony at Proxima Centauri, a memorial had been erected where the mining settlement once stood. Captain Frank Daniels stood before it, looking at the names of the 2,000 victims. Behind him, the Defiance hung in orbit, its weapon systems fully operational, its sensors constantly scanning for any approach. It was humanity's first true warship, but no longer its only one. Shipyards across the Sol system worked day and night, building a fleet that would ensure humans would never again be victims. We were kind, Frank said to the memorial, until the galaxy taught us better. Above him, the stars seemed colder somehow. The galaxy was changing, adjusting to a new reality where humanity's boundless compassion had been replaced with calculated self-interest, where their open hands had closed into fists. The galaxy had changed forever, and it was only beginning to understand why. The galaxy changed forever. When humans stopped being kind, 3 months after humanity's withdrawal, the galaxy was in crisis. Planets that had relied on human medical technology watched helplessly as their sick suffered. Agricultural worlds that had used human farming methods saw their crops fail. Trading networks collapsed as human merchant vessels remained docked in Earth's harbors. The Galactic Council met daily, trying to find solutions. Species that had rarely cooperated now worked together out of desperate necessity. Ancient rivals shared resources. Traditional enemies opened their borders to refugees. Yet nothing could fully replace what humans had provided for so long. "We have received a message from Earth," announced the Arborian chairperson to the assembled delegates. "They are prepared to send a full delegation to discuss new terms of engagement." A ripple of relief passed through the chamber, quickly followed by suspicion. "What do they want?" demanded the Zolarian representative. "More territory? Military concessions?" "They have not specified," replied the chairperson. "They request a formal session in 3 days." When the day arrived, the council chamber was filled beyond capacity. Representatives from even the smallest worlds attended, anxious to see what humans would demand in exchange for resuming their vital services. The human delegation entered as a group, led by a woman the council had never seen before. Nicole Barnes walked with confidence to the speaker's position, followed by 12 other humans in matching gray uniforms. Where once humans had worn the simple garments of humanitarian workers, they now dressed in precisely tailored attire that subtly mirrored military dress. "I am Diplomatic Director Nicole Barnes," she began without preamble. "I speak for Earth and all human colonies." The title was new. Humanity had never had a diplomatic director before. Always ambassadors, envoys, representatives. Titles that suggested service rather than authority. "The Council welcomes Director Barnes," said the chairperson. "We are eager to resolve the current difficulties." Nicole nodded. "Humanity has reassessed its position in galactic affairs. We are prepared to resume limited engagement under new terms." A human aide distributed data tablets to each major species representative. As they read, faces showed surprise, anger, disbelief. "These demands are outrageous." The Zolarian delegate rose to his feet. Formal recognition of expanded human territory, representation proportional to human contributions to galactic infrastructure, complete restructuring of Council security forces to include human oversight. Nicole's expression remained calm. "These are not demands. They are non-negotiable conditions for our return to galactic affairs." "You speak as if you hold all power here," hissed the Zolarian. "We do not claim to hold all power," Nicole replied. "Only the power we have always had but chose not to exercise. You fear we seek revenge for generations of exploitation. We do not. Revenge is inefficient. We seek equity." The Vesh representative stood, her slender form trembling slightly. The Council cannot accept these terms. They fundamentally alter the balance of power that has maintained peace for thousands of years. Nicole smiled without warmth. The peace you refer to was built on inequality. Some species decided, others served. Humans were useful as long as we accepted the lesser role you assigned us. She tapped her tablet, and the chamber's main display activated. It showed historical footage of human diplomatic missions, medical teams, and aid workers across the galaxy. Then it shifted to show internal council communications about those same missions, directing humans into conflicts where other species refused to risk their own, while simultaneously limiting human technological advancement through seemingly benevolent treaties. "Where did you get these records?" demanded the chairperson. "They are sealed council archives." "We have always been more observant than you credited," Nicole answered. "More capable than you assumed. You convinced yourselves that our kindness made us naive." The Zolarian delegate pounded his armored fist on the table. "I object to these insulting insinuations. Humans agreed to all treaties willingly." "Your objection is noted and dismissed," Nicole replied coolly. "You exploited our kindness for too long to now claim moral authority." Throughout the chamber, smaller species representatives watched the exchange with growing interest. Many of them had also felt the weight of the dominant power's influence over the centuries. "What guarantee do we have that humans will honor these new terms if accepted?" asked the representative of the Kelvaran aquatic worlds. "You have already broken previous agreements." "The same guarantee you have always had," Nicole responded. "Our word. The difference is that now our word comes with boundaries. We will help, but not at the expense of our own advancement. We will heal, but not while you restrict our defenses. We will share, but only with those who share in return." The council debated for hours. Old alliances fractured as some species saw opportunity in the human proposal, while others feared loss of influence. Finally, the chairperson called for a recess. "We will consider these conditions and reconvene tomorrow." As the humans prepared to leave, the elderly Vesh who had previously spoken about children in medical facilities approached Nicole. "Director Barnes," she said quietly, "while the council deliberates, would you consider resuming emergency medical support for critical cases? There are many who will not survive another day without human assistance." For a moment, Nicole's expression softened. She conferred briefly with her team, then turned back to the Vesh. "Send the details of the most urgent cases to our ship. We will dispatch medical teams today as a gesture of good faith, but understand this is temporary, pending the council's decision." The news spread quickly. Human doctors returning to alien hospitals, human engineers repairing critical systems, not in full force, but enough to save those in most dire need. On the human colony of New California, the first joint military exercise under the new approach took place. General Peter Collins watched as human troops trained alongside alien forces, no longer as peacekeepers but as equals. When an alien commander questioned a tactical decision, Peter didn't offer the diplomatic deference humans once would have. "You'll follow the plan as outlined," he stated firmly, "or you'll explain to your government why you chose to end this alliance before it began." The alien commander, a Zolarian who had never heard a human speak so directly, stared in shock before slowly nodding agreement. Back in the Oval Office on Earth, President Chen reviewed reports of the council negotiations. "They're stalling," said Alan Wright, standing by the window. "The dominant species don't want to give up their advantage." "They'll agree eventually," the president replied. "They have no choice. The smaller worlds are already accepting our terms separately." Alan smiled, slightly. "Divide and conquer? That doesn't sound like the kind humans of old." "We're still kind," Laura Chen said, looking at reports of human medical teams saving alien children. "But kindness with boundaries is wisdom. Kindness without boundaries was our mistake." On the Diplomatic Academy campus in Geneva, Dr. Kevin West lectured to the next generation of human representatives. The curriculum had been completely revised, focusing now on strategic negotiation rather than unconditional service. "The galaxy is adjusting to the new reality," he told his students. For the first time, they see us clearly, not as useful servants, but as a force to be respected. A student raised her hand. Sir, are we still the good guys in this story? Kevin considered the question carefully. We are neither heroes nor villains. We are simply a species that learned its worth. The galaxy took advantage of our compassion until we set boundaries. That doesn't make us less kind. It makes us wise. Across human space, a new philosophy took hold. Help would still be offered, but never at the expense of human interests. Technology would still be shared, but only with fair exchange. Peace would still be sought, but never through submission. The galaxy was indeed changing forever, and humanity was leading that change. The galaxy changed forever. When humans stopped being kind, 5 years passed since humanity presented its terms to the Galactic Council. 5 years of careful negotiations, gradual reintegration, and a new balance of power across the stars. The galaxy had indeed changed forever, adjusting to a reality where humans were no longer the selfless caregivers of the cosmos, but equal partners who valued themselves as much as others. Admiral Diane Foster stood on the bridge of the HSS Defender, flagship of the human fleet. Beside her was Commander Krelvor of the Zolarian forces and Captain Shen of the Vesh expedition. Together they commanded the new Galactic Security Force, a joint military operation that had been unimaginable before humanity's transformation. Sensors. Detect the raider fleet near the Odari system, reported a human officer. 5 vessels heavily armed. The same group responsible for attacks on 3 trading outposts last month, added a Zolarian tactical officer. Admiral Foster nodded. And the same organization behind the Proxima Centauri massacre years ago. The raiders had operated with near impunity for decades. The old council had rarely taken action against them, citing complicated political concerns and trade relationships. Now, with humans holding key positions in the restructured Galactic Security Force, those days were over. All ships, Battle Formation Delta, ordered Foster. We will offer one chance to surrender, no more. The joint fleet moved with precision, surrounding the raider vessels. When the raiders saw the approaching ships, they scattered, following their usual tactic of fleeing to fight another day. But this time was different. The human-designed engines of the security fleet easily matched their speed. The Zolarian targeting systems, combined with Vesh sensor technology, tracked them through the debris field where they tried to hide. This is Admiral Foster of the Galactic Security Force. Surrender immediately or face destruction. The raiders, accustomed to empty threats, responded with weapons fire. The battle that followed was brief and decisive. 2 raider ships were disabled, their crews captured. 3 attempted to fight and were destroyed. It's done, said Commander Krelvor, his voice containing a note of respect that would have been unthinkable years before. Justice for Proxima Centauri at last. Not revenge, Foster corrected. Justice. There's a difference. On Earth, in the garden of the presidential residence, former Ambassador Alan Wright sat on a bench. At 72, his hair had gone white, but his eyes remained sharp. He watched as President Chen approached, tablet in hand. The raiders have been captured, she said, sitting beside him. The last of them. Alan nodded. I heard. The families of Proxima will be glad to know it. Are you? She asked quietly. Your wife and daughter, Kate and Emma, wouldn't have wanted revenge, he replied. But they would have approved of justice, of a galaxy where such attacks can't happen with impunity. They sat in silence for a moment, looking at the garden where representatives from 20 alien species would gather later that day for the inauguration of the Interspecies Cooperation Institute. The new facility would replace the old humanitarian, missions with something more balanced, joint projects where all participants contributed equally. Did you ever imagine this outcome? Laura asked. When you first told the council that humanity's kindness had ended? Alan smiled slightly. I wasn't thinking that far ahead. I was angry, grieving. I just knew we couldn't continue as we had been. Yet here we are. Humanity holds 3 seats on the council. Our technology is advancing faster than ever now that the restrictive treaties are gone. Our colonies are expanding and protected by a real fleet. And we still help others, Alan added, just not at our own expense. Across the galaxy, evidence of the new balance could be seen everywhere. On medical stations, human doctors worked alongside alien healers as colleagues rather than saviors. Human agricultural experts taught sustainable farming methods to other species, receiving valuable knowledge about soil chemistry and weather prediction in return. Human diplomatic vessels still responded to crises, but they traveled with escorts now. Human aid still flowed to disaster zones, but accompanied by fair agreements for future cooperation. On the frontier world of Epsilon Eridani VII, a young human colony faced an unexpected threat, a series of violent storms that threatened their main settlement. Within hours, ships arrived from 4 alien worlds bringing supplies and assistance, not out of obligation or treaty requirements, but because the humans had helped them in the past as equals. At the newly established Academy for Galactic Affairs, students from 30 species studied together. In one classroom, an elderly Vesh professor asked her diverse students a question. What was the greatest misunderstanding between humans and the rest of the galaxy in the past century? A young Zolarian raised his hand. We mistook their kindness for weakness, their generosity for submission. And what did humans misunderstand? She prompted. A human student spoke up. We thought unconditional giving would earn respect. We didn't realize that in the wider galaxy, boundaries are necessary for true respect. The professor nodded. A costly lesson for all involved. In the council chambers, now relocated to a neutral station built by a coalition of species high, Representative Nicole Barnes listened as a young Zolarian diplomat proposed a new approach to a recently discovered primitive civilization. Their technology is primitive, he argued. We could easily extract their world's resources while providing them with just enough benefits to keep them compliant. Nicole caught his eye across the chamber and slowly shook her head. The Zolarian hesitated, then withdrew his proposal without further debate. Later, in the corridor, he approached her. How did humans resist the temptation to exploit others when you had the chance? Before your change in policy? The same way we resist it now, Nicole replied. By remembering that power without compassion leads to downfall. The difference is that now we also understand that compassion without boundaries leads to exploitation. On the anniversary of the Proxima Centauri attack, Alan Wright stood before the gathered crowd at the memorial site. The mining colony had been rebuilt, now protected by a defense system that would have been forbidden under the old treaties. Families of the victims sat in the front row, including his own granddaughter, Emma's child, who had been on Earth during the attack. We replaced unconditional kindness with principled cooperation, he told the audience. We discovered that true respect only came when we valued ourselves as much as we valued others. The galaxy has not become less compassionate, it has become more just. As he finished speaking, ships from a dozen alien worlds flew overhead in a salute to the victims and to the new era their sacrifice had inadvertently created. The galaxy had changed forever. It had learned that the most dangerous force wasn't human anger or human technology. It was human kindness transformed into calculated resolve. And in that transformation, a more balanced cosmos had emerged. One where kindness was no longer seen as weakness, but as a choice made from strength. Across human and alien worlds alike, a common saying emerged. Be kind like the humans of old, if you can. Be respected like the humans of today if you must.